Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. Get ready to take a trip down memory lane. That table could only mean one thing. We'll be showing off our Sega Saturn collection. And this is a request that was made by one of our users. So I did show off one of my other collections at one point. So now we're going to show off the Sega Saturn collection. We'll start off with loose games. I have Hexen, WWF In Your House, WrestleMania the arcade game. We have Thunderstrike. We have Daytona USA Championship Edition, Tunnel B1, NASCAR 98, Andrade Racing, Blazing Dragons, which is one of my favorite Saturn games, definitely awesome. And we have Brain Dead 13. We have a Jurassic Park game right here, and I think there's another. You see that the disc is a little cracked right there, but it still works. This is Battle Stations. Mass Destruction for Sega Saturn. Gex. So we have a lot of North American games right here. We got The Legend of Osis, Courier Crisis, Impact Racing, which I love that racing game. I think that's actually one of my favorites. And we have Off-World Interceptor Extreme and Starfighter. And we have the Revolution X, which is like that Aerosmith game. I think that game's actually pretty cool in the Saturn. And of course we have Rampage, World Tour. Those are my loose games right there. Loose copies. Let's see if we can get them together and piled up. Put those in the corner. Now these are games that have in long cases, which I really don't care for long cases at all. The reason why I bought all those. These cases take up a lot of space. Look how many games I have right here compared to this. This is one game versus probably 20-25 games. Center Ring Boxing. Now if you want to see a real crazy game collector that keeps this stuff complete and really good condition, probably doesn't have any loose copies at all, John Hancock. He has some crazy stuff. Mysteria, The Realms of Lore. It's like an RPG game of some sort. Of course I have a nice clean copy of Astal. Nice good platformer, kind of reminds me of Tomba on the PlayStation a little bit. Now this is the weird thing about it. It has like no... I mean, what the hell is up with that? If you put it on the shelf, you can't even tell which game it is. It kind of aggravates me. I don't know if that's a misprint or what. We got Sonic 3D Blast. Definitely a pretty good game. We got a busted copy of Busted Move 2, the arcade edition. And you can see that's busted. Goes up to his name, Busted. We got Bug. And I would like to have Bug 2, but I don't have that one. But you can see this is the first Bug game, and it's actually pretty good. Nice platformer. And we have Road Rash for the Sega Saturn. Put that one up there. Nice Road Rash game. And we have Shining Wisdom. You can win $10,000. There's details inside. Action RPG. not exactly my type of game, but I do have a complete copy of it for some reason. And then we have Dragon Force for the Sega Saturn, a complete nice clean copy of this game. Definitely quite the famous Sega Saturn game. One of those games you cannot miss up on. You can't pass up on it is what I meant to say. But definitely one of those games that you definitely want to own. Costs a lot though. Dark Savior. It's another interesting like RPG style game that came out on the Sega Saturn. And then of course we own a copy of Worldwide Soccer. I mean, look at how happy that guy is. Sega Sports. And there's nothing really special about this game, but it is a soccer game. Just look at it. It supports backing up your data. And speaking of backing up your data, I mean, I have one of these guys also. I also have an action replay. So, as far as hardware goes, I'm not going to show off hardware in this video. But I own a Japanese Sega Saturn and an American Sega Saturn. As you can see, this is one of my controllers right here. I own mostly all Japanese controllers because I think the controllers are better. Alright, so let's see if we can clear this off and let's get ready to look at the Japanese side of the Sega Saturn, my Japanese collection. This is all my American stuff right here. Nothing really spectacular, but the Japanese stuff is where I tend to collect my Sega Saturn games, so let's check that out. Alright, so this is going to be our first batch of Japanese games that I'm showing off from my Sega Saturn collection. We have Alone in the Dark 2. I started collecting these games probably like 15 years ago. I try to keep these in alphabetical order as much as possible. Daytona USA, the first one, and you can see that English on one side, Japanese on the other side. We have a Deca 4x4 truck racing. Let's see if you can actually see that up close. Let me see if I can turn this light off. It's not really doing anything. Well, that's the game right there. We have a Dead or Alive. The first Dead or Alive is actually really good on the Sega Saturn. Got a couple of screenshots right there. F1 Live Information is like a Formula 1 racing game. It's actually not bad, it's okay. A couple of screenshots right there. It's actually an okay racing game. Here's one I picked up more recent. Real Bout Fatal Fury Special SNK. And, this is something we're probably going to check out in the future. And of course, we have a Fighter Mega Mix. Definitely a great Sega Saturn game. Let's see if I can pull these forward here. Got a bunch of games here. We've got Fighting Vipers right here. Check this out. You can't have a Sega Saturn collection without having a copy of Fighting Vipers. Great fighting game. And then we have these obscure King the Spirit, whatever the hell you want to call that, racing game for the Sega Saturn. And again, over the years, I collected a lot of Sega Saturn games. Probably say I started in like 2005. This is a second copy of that, King the Spirit 2. Basically, it's an improved version of the first one, I guess. One of my favorites, Gun Griffin 2 for the Saturn. Definitely really good graphics. Probably some of the best 3D graphics you'll see on the Sega Saturn. And then recently I played this. It's a Gale Racer. Made a video on this one. So if you enjoy some unique racing games, that's definitely one of them right there. And we have Hang On GP95. Definitely an interesting game to say the least. You can actually use the 3D controller with that game, and it actually works a lot better than the standard controller. And we have Henry the Explorers, or Henry Explorers. Henry Explorers. It's a light gun game, so if you want like an alternative to House of the Dead or Virtual Cop, here it is. And it works with the gun too. As you'll see right here. Just for the hell of it, I'll show you that I have a Japanese light gun that happens to be probably illegal because it has no orange tip at the end. So this is the Sega Saturn light gun, and it works quite well with these light gun games. And speaking of light gun games, we have House of the Dead right here. And this is probably one of the first games I got with the Saturn that I bought like years ago. And we have this one right here, Deck Athlete. It's a little bright. Let's see if we can tone that down a little bit. Now this is like an Olympic type of game right here. It's actually pretty fun. It's not bad. And of course we have our famous Dragon Ball Z games right here. Pretty good. If you like Dragon Ball Z, then that's something you'll probably want to check out. One of the more obscure Japanese Sega Saturn games, Destruction Derby. Took a while to hunt this one down. And you can see that on both sides it is Japanese. But you have some nice Destruction Derby graphics right there. And we have Dynamite Deca, which is Die Hard over in the United States, and it's a pretty decent beat 'em up game. Definitely on par with like Fighting Force. Then we have Virtual On, Cyber Troopers Virtual On. And then one of my favorites right here, definitely an obscure wrestling fighting game, Blazing Tornado. Now this game right here is kind of like Fire Pro Wrestling and Saturday Night Slam Masters crammed together into one. It's actually pretty cool. Nice arcade style. Now then we have this game, Air's Adventure, which is probably one of those games that sell for very, very little because it's not that good of a game and nobody wants it. And then of course we have Fire Pro Wrestling S, 6-man scramble. Definitely one of those really, really cool, awesome hidden gems on the Sega Saturn. Got some really cool looking wrestling matches you can have, barbed wire matches, explosives, all kinds of crazy stuff. And we got Mobile Suit Gundam Side Story 1, which happens to be inside these weird cardboard cases instead of like your normal jewel cases. And I also have the second one, and they open up like this, which is kind of weird. You have the disc in there, you have a booklet. The booklet doesn't come out. I don't have the third one yet, but I'm going to hunt that down eventually. Just keep in mind I bought these like over 10 years ago and I still have not hunted down the third one. Since I've been buying other games. So I have Mobile Suit Gundam, some other Gundam game that's on the Saturn. I have no idea what this is, to be honest. And then of course we have ourselves copies of Magical Hoppers. A great, nice little 3D platformer for the Sega Saturn. And if you're in the United States or Europe, it's known as Pandemonium on the PlayStation or Sega Saturn. We have ourselves a copy of The Last Bronx. It's like a big ass looking case right here. Look at this. It's a fighting game. Check this out. This is something that we have, and what we're going to do is we're going to clear this off and get ready to show you the next batch of Japanese Sega Saturn games. I have quite a bit, so stay tuned. Alright, so here we are with a copy of Funky Head Boxers. Pretty cool boxing game that's crazy. I have a still box copy of this game right here. It's like an Ultraman game, and it has like an expansion cartridge. We have Sega Rally 1995. Sega Touring Car. It's a very, very fast-paced racing game. That game's like crazy as hell. For some reason I have two copies of Zap Snowboarding Tricks. I think one of them kind of has a little bit of damage on it, so I have two copies. We have this K1 boxing game right here. It's called, what is this called right here? K1 Boxing Fighting Illusion Show. Probably one of the better boxing, kickboxing games available on the Sega Saturn. We have the Legend of K1 The Best Collection, which I'd never played this one before, so I'm not sure what's on that. And then we have ourselves a 2DO something something. It looks like a puzzle game. I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I have it in my collection. And we have a Panzer Dragoon Part 2. Now, what other kind of stuff do we have here? We have Wipeout. We have Winter Heat, which is another like Decathlete Olympic type game. We got Wing Arms. It's like a 3D plane dogfighting type of game. Panzer Dragoon Part 1. Pretty common. And we got Virtual Fighter Kids. Pretty cool game. And speaking of Virtual Fighter, we have Virtual Fighter Remix. Definitely a really cool version of Virtual Fighter Part 1. And then we have Virtual Fighter 2. Definitely a must-have. And of course we have the original Virtual Fighter. And what do we have here? We have Victory Goal 96, which happens to be like a soccer game. It's compatible with your multi-tap. I don't have any of those, unfortunately. A Virtual Cop 2. Definitely a great light gun game. You saw the light gun earlier. Definitely have probably like 4 light gun games we can use that on. A Virtual Cop Part 1. Now what else do we have here? Pile's getting quite a bit huge. Right here we get Tomb Raider. And in Japan they call it Tomb Raiders with an S. For some reason I don't know why. And then we have a Robo Pit, which this game I actually never played, but I have it in my collection. It's like some sort of fighting game or something. And here's a really obscure, interesting game that I picked up. This is from TV Animation Slam Dunk. I Love Basketball. It's like an anime basketball game. And I honestly, I never played the game, but probably check that out in the future. And then we have a Saturn Bomberman. Bomberman Fight, that is. This game is actually really awesome. Probably one of my favorite copies of Bomberman. And we have our Battle 97. This is a basically Tokyo Drift King, Tokyo Highway Battle. Sonic Jam. Definitely a great game. We got Sonic R. We got Nights into Dreams, and this is definitely one of my favorites. I have the 3D controller as well. And of course we have ourselves a copy of Christmas Nights from Japan. Definitely a great game to play during Christmas time. And then we have Wangan Dead Heat Real Arrange. This is some sort of racing game that's in like a huge case, kind of like Gran Turismo. And now you got all the Japanese babes on the bottom. Look at that. And then you got the screenshot of the games. Look at this. All kinds of crazy stuff going on here. And we're almost towards the end here. We got this Virtual Fighter New Japan Pro Wrestling. Actually, this is All Japan Pro Wrestling. An actual wrestling game on the Sega Saturn that's actually quite obscure. Not so many people know about it. But if you look at the back of it, this game actually has really good graphics and the gameplay is actually pretty good. It's like one of those wrestling games that are really, really not too well known. And you can see there, you got Giant Baba. You got the list of all your characters, and you got a couple of Virtual Fighter characters in this game as well. Got a really strange, obscure version of Race Driven, in which this is more common to see like on a DOS computer. And there's like nothing on the back at all. But this is definitely a weird version of Race Driven. It actually runs pretty good too. Probably one of the better versions. And then of course we have Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. And it's this bear. And of course we have our X-Men versus Street Fighter. And this bear, probably cost-cutting measure by me. As you can see, sometimes I cheap out. As long as I can get hold of the game. And we got Street Fighter 02. We got Street Fighter 01. And we have this game that I paid an arm and a leg for. This is like a beat 'em up game. This is a Capcom game, and it's a beat 'em up game, kind of resembles Golden Axe, I guess. It looks a little like Golden Axe, to say the least. And I don't quite have the name of it, so as you can see, there is no English translation for this game on the case, so I can't tell you exactly what it's called. And then we have Street Fighter 02 Strike. So this is a different copy of Street Fighter 02. I don't know exactly what the difference is. Don't bother asking, because I don't know. And then of course we have ourselves a copy of Street Fighter Collection with Street Fighter 2. And this is definitely one of my favorites. And that is my Sega Saturn collection, and there is constantly more games growing and being added to the collection. And if you enjoyed that episode of Memory Lane, don't forget to give a thumbs up and comment down below and let me know what collection you want to see next. I have the PlayStation, the Nintendo 64, I have 32X, Sega Genesis, which I believe I showed that collection off already. I got the Super Nintendo, the Super Famicom, the NES, the Atari. We got the Japanese PS2, Japanese PlayStation 1 as well, GameCube. We got the horrible Tiger Electronic Gamecom. Show off the collection on that. And hell, we even have the Wii U and the Switch. We can show off collections on that as well. The Switch collection is growing pretty big. And then we got the original Wii, still got a handful of games on that I can show off. So what collection do you want to see next? Down below, comment, let me know, and we'll make that happen. I know that this Sega Saturn collection was requested to be the next to be shown off, and here it is. I hope you enjoyed the video, and just for a little bonus here, we'll show off my light gun. Got the Sega Saturn light gun right here, and this is a Japanese light gun, so you'll never see a light gun like this in the US. In the US, you're supposed to have like an orange tip at the end, but that was imported, and it's a pretty badass looking light gun. So give it a thumbs up and comment down below and let me know what you think, what you want the next collection to be shown off on Memory Lane.